Hello viewers, this PPT presentation has been made for those young officers, SSCs, JEs, those who are having a very first-hand experience about attending a derailment. So few points have been clubbed together for action to be taken on getting the first information of an accident. Let's take an example of a goods train. So once you receive information, be the first to reach the site. Take quick survey of the site. Note train name, number, list of train composition, load from guard, and a copy of PPC, name of crew and guard, numbers of derailed, capsized wagon particulars, section, between stations, location, kilometer, etc. Draft a message and relay information with assistance required with regard to extent of PV damage, track length, men and material requirement. Make a rough sketch. A sample is attached in subsequent slide. And then on arrival of other departmental officials, the joint observations are recorded. This is a sample accident sketch which is also circulated in the revised pro forma of Railway Board. All references like left hand side and right hand side are to be with respect to the direction of movement of train. The accident sketch should be so clear so that anybody seeing the accident sketch is capable and able of reconstructing the site of derailment. So here, this is the station in front, location of a gutter bridge, engine number, gradient, coaches on track, coaches which have derailed. This is the direction of train. An axle box broken found over here, broken spring, a drawbar, and this box gives the train number, date of accident, time of accident, and the kilometer. Now further, an diagram has been made which shows this particular section and the wheel marks. So here the wheel marks on sleeper are shown as on the outside of the curve and here inside of the curve, and all the dimensions are given like this way. The position of rail joint etc. is also shown over here. So all details are incorporated in the accident sketch as regard the curves. These are the curve details where it derailed. This is showing the position of wagons which are capsized, overturned on sideways, and this length, how much length is undergoing, etc. Then these are the track particulars with regard to the section of rail, type of sleepers, gradient, maximum rolling gradient, curvature, ballast cushion, below sleepers, total rainfall during 4 days preceding the derailment, and condition of formation has been mentioned as stable. So after these documents are ready, the work left is only the restoration, and after the restoration of track and traffic, then comes the turn of recording the wagon measurements. So I am showing the standard pro forma which has been circulated by Railway Board, and this is pro forma for wagon measurement. One thing I would mention here that we need to study very carefully all the points mentioned in the note, as these give the directions to fill in and to act according to the nature of derailment. Now from column 1 to column 21, they are basically the information like serial number of wagon, date of incident and time, train number, etc., etc., and nothing technical is here mentioned except for 2-3 items which are more important. One is the ROH, POH dates, return date, the loading particulars, which is also available from the guard's journal as well as from the labels. It's just 1 to 21 column are only information of the train. So we switch over to column 22 of the performer, which is buffer oblique coupler height. So there are two types of buffers, end buffers and center buffer coupling. So in the picture we have the center buffer coupling, and what we do is that this is the, first of all I would say, most indicative parameter which indicates the wheel diameter, which indicates the loading pattern, which indicates the suspension system. So what we do is we mark the center of the CBC, and then with this gauge we record the height from rail level. So like this way we take the height. So the standard height as per IFCA part 3, the limit for broad gauge in case of empty it's 1105, minimum is 1090 required for empty wagon, and in loaded condition it should be 1030 and not less than 1030, because if it is less than 1030 the buffer is known as either drooping or buffer is known as dead, as notified by chapter 4 of IRCA part 3 under rule S 4.16.1 and 4.16.2, because S has been prefixed with this rule. So this S means sick. So these wagons normally are not to be allowed in train composition. So please ensure that we should take this reading nearest to 1 mm accuracy by first marking the center and then taking the height from the rail level. Buffer stroke CBC height. This parameter really I love to measure. In other words, it's a pulse of a wagon management. Most of the departmental officers confront the height difference permitted is 64 mm. But to me it gives the overall picture. How? Let me try to explain. Buffer height depends on 3 main parameters, that is the wheel diameter, the specific deflection of springs, and the commodity loaded. If the wheel diameter and the loading is okay, there is no overloading, then even if the buffer height is corrected or brought to the required height, if the suspension system is defective, we can check it from the bolster to bogie clearance, this clearance. So that's how it plays a vital role in identifying the behavior of springs and the suspension system. So once the buffer height is okay, loading is okay, it is again reflected from here if these are weak. Column 23 to 25 pertains to cases of wheel and axle breakage. So I am just skipping it because it's a known case of cause of derailment. Column 26 pertains to wheel diameter. Now, wheel diameter measurements record whether below condemning size, yes or no. So first we should know the condemning size and then the wheel diameters are measured. Chapter 6. Bogies and suspension of wagon maintenance manual, page 25 of 43. The variation in tread diameter of wheel tread tires on the same axle after fresh turning on surface wheel lathe, under floor wheel lathe, pit wheel lathe, should not exceed 0.5 mm. The turner, the lathe man, normally machines the wheel equal diameters. However, small variations may occur if the cut has not been taken very carefully. After finishing, the operators should assure dia of both wheels. If the difference is more than 0.5 mm, he should take another cut on the tire having larger diameter. Wheel diameter remaining the most controversial parameter, as IRCA states by Chapter 2, Para 2.8.9.2, that at the time of wheel changing in sickline stroke workshops, the variation in treadmill should not exceed the permissible limits indicated below. So once the wagon is being shed out after ROH, POH or wheel replacement, so these are the dimensions to which the wheels should be fitted on the trolleys. That on the same axle it does not exceed 0.5 mm, on the same trolley it does not exceed 13 mm, and on the same wagon it does not exceed 25 mm. For BLC wagons, these dimensions are 0.5 on the same axle, on the same trolley it's 5 mm and 13 mm on the same wagon. Point 3 says the wheel diameter should be measured at 63.5 mm from gaze face, that is back of face of flange. Variation in tread meter on the same axle as specified above shall apply only at the time of reprofiling tire turning of tread on a wheel lathe. There is no in-service limit to this variation. Rejection during service is governed by tire defect gauge. Now, wheel diameter for new wheel Casnub is 1000 mm. Condemning wheel dia for all versions except 22 NLC is 906 mm, and condemning wheel dia for NLC is 955 mm. Now, there is no in-service limit for this variation. Rejection during service is governed by tire defect gauge. This is somewhat confusing. Now, if a wagon derails within fortnight or month within shop overhauling, having a difference of say 1.5 mm on the same axle, as we find normally in cases of derailment, does it fall under rejection para 2.8.92? Can a diameter wear out to 1 mm or 1.5 mm within that period of 15 or 1 month? While other wheel diameters do not have that wear, so this remains a controversial point. And even if we calculate with 1.5 mm of difference, I have shown here, considering one wheel as 981, other 982.5, so this is the circumference what we get. And if we take out the revolutions by each of the wheel in 1 kilometer length, so it comes to around, this is half the circumference, that is 1.5 meter. So normally a wheel does not travel like that way because it is bound to a common axle. But this sort of wheel dia difference induces a sinusoidal motion in the wheel movement as it moves from higher to lower, and then again when it gets a thrust from that side, it again comes back like that way. So horizontally it moves in a sinusoidal way, and this action exerts huge lateral dynamic pressure on the gauges of the rails. Well, these are the gauges with which we take the wheel diameter, and this is the latest version, and this is put behind the wheel face, and these 3 points with the midpoint gives the direct reading of the wheel diameter. Next column is 27 pertaining to wheel gauge taken at 3 places. Chapter 6, Bogies and Suspension Wagon Maintenance Manual, page 26 of 43. defines under para F wheel defects, and under para F 0.5 is of gauge, slack or tight. It reads the wheel gauge, that is the distance between the flanges of two wheels on the same axle, should be within lay-down limit. The aspect has to be particularly ensured when new tires have been fitted. On old tires, normally the distance is correct, but in some cases where the machining has not been done accurately in the past, the distance may be beyond the permissible limit. If the distance is less, it can be corrected by machining the side surface of the wheel. In case the distance is more, the wheel shall require re-axling. It is very important that the turner of the wheel lathe checks this distance at the time of turning, in addition to the check done by incoming inspection staff. The laydown tolerance is 1600 plus 2 minus 1 mm for broad gauge. Plate 31 of IRCA Part 3, wheel gauge tight or slack, and the rule for reference is 2.8.5 and 4.19.1. It reads, vehicles or wagons may be refused if gauge of any pair of wheels is on broad gauge less than 1599 or more than 1602. Now, in a recent derailment, we have found the wheel gauge on axle as 1601, 1599, 1598.5 and 1600. So according to this rule, this wheel falls under rejection. So the maximum limit and the minimum limit is 1599 to 1602, 1600 being the nominal value. In between the last and this column, there are certain columns which do not pertain to Casnub, so I have skipped off and come to most important column 42, which is lateral clearance between side frame and bolster. This is bolster and this is the side frame. This is center pivot, and here we have side bailers. This is the cut picture. Now the lateral clearance is this, a gap between side frame and bolster, and here side frame and bolster. So the nominal is 18 mm plus minus 3. So here we have as 9 plus minus 1.5, and here also we have 9 plus minus 1.5. So totaling to 18 plus minus 3. This is the nominal value. Now for ROH it is 30 and the maximum is 38. So what is our aim is, we have to see for the lateral clearance if less than 15 and more than 38 for WM and NLB trolleys. For all other trolleys except WM and Casnub NLB, this is 25 mm for new, means the nominal being 25 plus minus 3, ranging from 18 mm to 22. 22 to 25 mm. This is the nominal range, but the ROH value is given as 37 and the maximum value given is 45. So we have to see that the maximum and minimum. The minimum is 22 and the maximum is 45. Where here and here. So to have total value, the clearance on this side has to be added to clearance on this side. So A plus B gives the total value, and this should not be less than 15 mm and 22 mm for WM and NLB and all other organs, while the maximum limits for WM and NLB is 38 mm, and for all other version it's 45 mm. Column 43. This is lateral clearance between side frame and axial adductor. That was bolster. Now we have axial. So again, as far as lateral is concerned, it is again taken on both ends, outside the frame, inside the frame. So this limit is here shown encircled for inside portion 12.5 plus 1.9 minus 0, and here also it is 12.5 plus 1.5 minus 0. So this is so to say 25 plus 3 minus 0, nominal clearance I am talking. Similarly, this is the longitudinal clearance. It is only one reading, and this is between these two, this axial box surface and this side frame surface. So this is also given as 3.5. So these are different. This has been listed out in a chart in a subsequent sheet where I have mentioned the actual ones. So it will be more clear when we go to that slide. This is a detailed chart with reference to lateral clearances, longitudinal clearances, what we saw in last two slides. And this is a complete description as well as the complete detail of the measurements, the total clearances and the nominal clearances. So there are in fact, we can say 4 types of clearances: new clearances, values of ROH, and maximum permissible. And from the nominal, I have made another column indicating the minimum and the maximum. So we are in between this. So anything more than this or less than this is detrimental. I will give link of this chart where I have done conditional formatting. When we put the value recorded, it will give a particular color of a font if it is out of range of minimum and maximum. For ready reference of the users, we need not go and browse anywhere. This sheet is always to be kept in the diary. Well, viewers, thanks for watching. This is Gurjit Singh. Please do like, share and subscribe my channel, and do comment in the comment box. Your comments are most welcome and most valuable for me in making my subject more and more effective. Thanks once again.